It's nice to see multiple generations of families come together and break bread together. So I think a lot of this effort is not being done for us today, but thinking about the legacy of Calvary.
What we need to do now is retire our debt so we can continue to service this great community and people that we have here.
We can't imagine being anywhere else.
No.
But that took a lot of work and some tough decisions.
Yes.
Now it's time to take the next step.
The people of Calvary have been people living in the power of the promise since 1949, when the congregation first worshiped together on Cottonwood Street. And the promise was kept as the congregation grew to welcome more families, children, people of all ages. Many joined this journey of promise through the years. Some have been on the journey for a long time.
All right, it was over 10 years ago, I think we made the decision and vision that we would be the youth and family center, and building this fine building that we did is fulfillment of our promise on that visioning process. As soon as we can devote more of our operating budget to additional programs, we can then help the additional families and their needs that are coming into our organization. It's really exciting to be able to provide a home for all of those people.
I think what's been exciting about our capital expansion over the last several years is that so many families have given what they can. And together, that's how we've gotten this wonderful new church, and will continue to build its programs as well.
If we've taken on 500 new family members since we moved here, and we moved here just a few years ago, what do we do in the next few years if we take on 500 more? It takes more people to service that amount of people coming in the door, and we certainly can't put closed on the door at the church.
In 1999, the people of Calvary struggled as they traveled in the promise, and more joined in this journey of promise. We outgrew every attempt to create more space for the new arrivals and those who have traveled the journey for many years. In 2001, the journey led the people of Calvary to a land on which to live more fully in the promise, the property on Sheridan Lake Road. In 2002, after hundreds of the people of Calvary made and then kept generous and joyful promises, a new place of ministry emerged from the hillside along Sheridan Lake Road. And more people flocked to join the journey. And many more made new promises, and they were kept, and the sanctuary emerged to be the new face of Calvary to the community. And the people continue to join this journey, hearing the gospel promise from the words of Jesus, "Lo, I am with you to the end of the age," and living in the ancient promise given to Abraham that they, as God's people, will be blessed to be a blessing. This great journey of promise now approaches the end of another chapter in the more than 60-year story of the people of Calvary. Many of those who began the journey now travel with us only in spirit. Many new ones have stepped into the ranks to take their place, and the crowd has grown all along the way.
We're not done with the journey. We'll never complete the journey, but we're just moving along in that journey. This is just another step. The next step will be to retire the debt. I have no doubt that we'll do that. The next step will be to continue to add programming and add staff so that we can reach out to more families in the community.
Everybody realizes that the economy times are tough, but everybody I approached and asked was willing to do something each time, and I have no doubt that that will continue this time.
One thing I learned from my father, he said, somebody helped build this church so your grandparents could go to this church, and your grandparents helped put the Sunday school rooms in so I could go to church. And I do this so it's a better church for you, and you will do something. We may never know what promises are fulfilled, but I have this faith that it's going to be good because of what we do here.
The journey doesn't end. New promises have been given. New ones will be asked for, and all will be kept. The people of Calvary, those who have traveled for many years and those who have joined the journey only recently now stand together, facing another challenge in the journey. Now is the time for the final touches to be made on this chapter of the journey, to honor those who have traveled long, to celebrate those who have joined the journey along the way, and to prepare for those not yet born and families not yet formed, who will be called by the promise and drawn into the journey. Will you join us in our continuing journey, living in the power of the promise?
I think it's so important that not only do we want to give, but that we ask, because some people out here might not know what they can give or that any amount that they can give, and not just from a monetary standpoint, but also from a talent standpoint or teaching a class standpoint or giving back by helping to serve a meal on Wednesday night standpoint. So I think there are more than one way to, one, give, and then that we have a responsibility as a church community to ask as well.
I think as we look at our mission statement and as we look down the road in the future, why debt retirement campaign is so important to Calvary Lutheran Church.
And to keep the promise that we made to our children when they were baptized, that we would make them a part of the church family, that we would teach them. So we need to be able to continue to offer that to our children and provide that for them.
Our church really is an intergenerational promise, if you will. When my great-grandmother moved from Norway to South Dakota, they took a small corner of their land so they could build a church on it. And they grew out of that and moved into a basement in Mitchell. And then when enough money was found, they built a church there, and on and on. And so this is just part of that intergenerational sharing that we're passing along. And who knows where our children will take the church next.
What a privilege it is to speak with you for a moment. One thing I know about you, as you've seen on this video, you are all jewels in God's crown. And we all have been blessed with the power of the promise power of God's loving presence in Jesus Christ our Lord. The Lord's powerful presence is what unites us and strengthens us to serve God at Calvary Lutheran Church. As I look over the last decade and see all the accomplishments we as a congregation have achieved, all I can say is amazing, and to God be the glory. For some time now, God has been guiding us as we have been fulfilling a vision that God has inspired us with. We've come a long way, building and relocating to our new church home, while continuing to sustain and build the congregation's mission and ministry that began 60 years ago. Over the last decade, hundreds of people have joined our congregation. New programs have been developed. We have completed 2 successful capital campaigns that nearly funded the construction of our incredible new church. All that remains to be paid on our $12 million project is a loan of $2.1 million. This past summer and fall, we asked you through dinners and surveys, when should we take the next step of retiring our debt? 300 families of our congregation responded, almost unanimously, that we should conduct a debt retirement campaign in the spring of 2010. The leadership of our church, inspired by you, has been working diligently putting together the Power of the Promise debt retirement campaign to be conducted over these next couple of months. These are exciting times, and this is the time to look into our hearts, to consider and pledge a gift that will eliminate our debt, which will springboard us powerfully into the future, so that we can continue to build the congregation that we love and serve. Together, in the power of the promise, we can eliminate our debt. Thank you. 1,000 thanks for your gifts. God has blessed us, He's blessing us right now and will continue to bless us. Friends, you are all jewels in God's crown.